TLC hasn't said one single word about season 21. Not a press release, not a tweet, not even a quiet line buried in some upcoming show's press kit. Nothing. And yet, right now, while you're watching this, cameras have reportedly already been rolling on new Sister Wives footage. So, which is it? Is this actually the end of the road for the Brown family after 16 years on television? Or are we watching the quietest renewal in reality TV history unfold in real time? Here's what I can tell you before we go any further. By the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through the one specific thing that would actually have to happen for Sister Wives to be truly, officially over. Not fan guesswork, not vibes from a finale, but the real signal that would settle this once and for all. Almost nobody talks about it, and once you hear it, you'll understand why the silence from TLC means a lot less than people think. But to get there, we need to start where most fans started asking this question in the first place, the season 20 finale. If you watched the season 20 one-on-ones as they rolled out earlier this year, you probably felt it too. There was a weight to those episodes that didn't feel like a normal season wrap-up. It felt like an ending. Longtime viewers, the ones who've been watching since the very first season back in 2010, started clocking it almost immediately. The tone wasn't, "see you next year." It was closer to a eulogy for a family structure that doesn't exist anymore. And that's not really an exaggeration, because structurally, this isn't the same show it used to be. Kody Brown now lives monogamously with Robin Brown, his fourth and last remaining wife. Mary Brown, Janelle Brown, and Christine Brown Woolley have all left the marriage, each on their own timeline, over the last several years. The show that once followed one family under one roof, or at least one plural marriage across 4 households, is now, structurally, something closer to a family of exes still occasionally getting filmed in the same orbit. So when the season 20 finale hit and it had that farewell energy, fans didn't just imagine that. It lined up with what's actually happening to the family on screen. Now here's where it gets interesting, and this is where we start separating what's actually confirmed from what people are just guessing at. Because right around the same time fans were mourning what felt like a series finale, Mykelti Brown Padron, Christine and Kody's daughter, started talking. And this part is documented. She said it herself, on camera, in an interview for the Growing Up in Polygamy YouTube channel, alongside her husband Tony. She confirmed that the family has, in fact, filmed content for a 21st season. Let that sit for a second. The same week fans are treating the finale like a funeral, one of the cast members is confirming cameras never actually stopped. So hold that thought, because we're going to come back to what that contradiction actually means. First, let's talk about how Mykelti described it, because her wording matters a lot more than a simple yes or no on renewal. She didn't describe a show firing on all cylinders. In that same conversation, she used a word that fans immediately grabbed onto. She said, in her own words, the show is fizzling. She followed that up by pointing out that most of the original cast are functionally ex-wives now, which changes the entire premise of what people tune in to see. This isn't a fan theory. This is the daughter of 2 original cast members describing the show's own trajectory, on the record, in her own words. And it's not just the tone that's changed, it's the actual filming schedule. Mykelti described it directly. It's been 2 weeks of filming, 2 weeks off, for the parents. And she added that over roughly the last 6 months, filming has dropped to what she called very, very minuscule, sporadic in her words. That's not somebody describing a full-throttle production gearing up for a big new season. That's somebody describing a show running on fumes, technically still alive, but a long way from the machine it used to be. Now, here's a detail that a lot of casual viewers miss entirely, and it's worth pausing on. In a separate interview on the Cults to Consciousness podcast, Mykelti revealed something even more specific about her own involvement. She said she hadn't been asked to film in about a year. She was careful to say she hadn't told producers no, she simply hadn't been asked. And she offered a reason. She said the show's newer production team seems to be focusing primarily on Kody and what's often called his original 4, meaning the core dynamic between Kody, Robin, and his 3 ex-wives, rather than the wider circle of adult children. So sit with that for a second, because it reframes the whole question. This isn't really a binary, is the show ending or not situation. It might be narrowing, shrinking its cast of characters down to the central marriage drama and quietly filming less of everyone else. That's a very different kind of ending than a cancellation. That's a show downsizing in plain sight without ever announcing it's doing so. Let's talk about Kody for a second, because his own comments add another layer to this. And honestly, they're some of the most candid things he said about the show in years. During the season 20 one-on-one process, as reported by People, Kody told host Sukanya Krishnan that filming those tell-all interviews felt harder every single year. He even gave them a nickname, not exactly a flattering one, involving a curse word and, of all things, a chicken. Clean version, the chicken bleep chit-chat. In a separate clip from that same round of interviews, he said he felt like he was constantly swimming upstream and admitted he was tired of the antagonistic back and forth that these interviews always seem to produce. Now that's worth sitting with, because think about who's saying this. This isn't a disgruntled ex-wife venting on Instagram. This is Kody Brown, the central figure the entire franchise has orbited around since day one, publicly admitting that the format itself, the sit-down tell-all interviews that have defined every season finale since this show started, exhausts him. That the backstabbing, his word, is something he wants to stop, even while, by his own admission, he kept doing it in the very same interview. So we've got Mykelti saying the show is fizzling. We've got Kody saying the interviews feel harder every year and that he's tired of the fighting. And we've got a production schedule that's reportedly dropped to sporadic 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off filming. On paper, that sounds like a show winding down. But hold on, because that's exactly where the contradiction kicks back in. Because despite all of that, filming is still happening. Cameras are still rolling. Nobody, not Mykelti, not Kody, not TLC, has said the words, "This is the last season." So which version of this story do we actually believe? The tired, fizzling ex-wives going through the motions version? Or the still quietly in production, technically alive version? Here's the uncomfortable answer. They're both true at the same time. That's not a cop-out. That's literally what a low-key, unofficial wind-down looks like from the outside. It doesn't announce itself. It just gets slower and quieter until one day it stops. Now, let's bring in the fans, because this is where the internet has been doing what it always does with Sister Wives, dissecting every scrap of information in real time. On Reddit, in the season 20 wrap-up threads, a recurring sentiment keeps surfacing, that the family has simply run its course. Not in a mean way, mostly in a resigned way, like longtime viewers watching a show they've loved for over a decade slowly lose the thing that made it work in the first place, which, for most fans, was the relationships between the wives, relationships that mostly don't exist anymore. And there's a quieter, more tender thread running through some of those discussions too, one I want to handle carefully. Some fans have pointed to the tribute episode the family did in memory of Garrison Brown, Kody and Christine's son, who passed away in March of 2024, as the point where the show, emotionally, reached its natural close. That's not a criticism of the family, and I don't think fans mean it that way either. It's more that, for a lot of viewers, that episode was such a profound and honest moment of a family coming together in grief that anything after it has understandably felt like an epilogue. I think that says more about how much that moment meant to people than it does about the show's actual future, and it's worth acknowledging with the care it deserves. Then there's Janelle Brown. Back in December of 2025, she posted an Instagram caption that got a lot of attention, where she reflected on times in her life she felt like she'd broken. Fans immediately started reading that as a hint she might be stepping away from filming entirely. Now, here's where fans on Reddit start to wonder out loud, because nobody has confirmed Janelle is done with the show. In fact, reporting since then indicates she's still very much a part of it going into whatever comes next. But the moment shows you how sensitive this fanbase is to any signal, however small, that might point toward the end. A single caption, with zero direct reference to the show, was enough to spark an entire wave of "is Janelle leaving" speculation. That's the environment season 21 exists in right now. Every offhand comment gets treated like a clue. Every interview gets picked apart for hints. And honestly, after 16 years of this family's ups and downs playing out on camera, it makes sense that fans are hyper alert. Nobody wants to be caught off guard by a cancellation they didn't see coming. Nobody wants to miss the actual goodbye if this really is one. So let's get to the part I promised you at the beginning. What would actually have to happen for Sister Wives to be officially, unambiguously over? Because here's the thing almost nobody talks about when they're debating this online. TLC's silence doesn't actually tell you much of anything. Networks routinely sit on renewal announcements for months, sometimes for reasons as unglamorous as scheduling, ad sales, or waiting to bundle a premiere date with a marketing push. Silence from TLC is not the same thing as a decision from TLC. The real signal, the thing that would actually confirm this is over, isn't a lack of announcement, it's one of two very specific things. Either TLC issues a direct statement that the show will not continue, something they have never done in this show's 16-year history, even during previous long hiatuses, or the cast themselves stop filming altogether, across the board, not just one person going quiet for a year like Mykelti did, but the core group, Kody and Robin included, simply not sitting down for any new footage. Right now, neither of those things has happened. What we have instead is Mykelti confirming filming took place, a production schedule that's clearly been scaled back, and a network staying quiet the way it always has, right up until the moment it finally announces something. So here's the most honest, most balanced answer anyone can give you right now. Filming for season 21 is confirmed. That's not speculation, that's Mykelti Brown Padron on record. What's not confirmed is anything about an official season order, a premiere date, or a formal renewal from TLC. And the cast themselves seem genuinely split on whether the format even still works. You've got Kody admitting the interviews wear him down every year, Mykelti calling the whole thing fizzling, and yet the cameras keep showing up anyway. That's not indecision. That's just what the middle of a long, slow ending, or a long, slow continuation, actually looks like while you're living through it. We don't get the clean, dramatic finale announcement fans keep waiting for. We get fragments, interview clips, a Patreon mention here, a Reddit thread there. And honestly, that fragmented, uncertain feeling might be the most accurate reflection of where this family actually is right now. Not a clean ending, not a triumphant new chapter, just a group of people figuring out in real time how much of their lives they still want to hand over to a camera crew. So here's what I want to know from you. After everything you just heard, the fizzling comment, the scaled-back filming, Kody's own exhaustion with the format, do you actually want season 21? Or is it time for TLC to let this one go and let the Browns walk away on their own terms? Drop your honest take in the comments. I genuinely want to see where this community lands on it. And if this kind of deep dive breakdown is what you come here for, make sure you're subscribed, because we track every single update on this family the moment it actually happens, not the moment a rumor starts.